In this temple, once a certain girl steps through your door, you don't live to see morning. There's never a wound, never a struggle, just a body in the bed and a pair of open eyes with nothing left behind them. She's beautiful, beautiful enough that no man ever guesses her face is the last thing he'll see. She raises one hand, and something is pulled out of him. But none of it is her choice. Whatever she takes, the shadow behind her rips it away in an instant. She isn't the worst thing in this temple. She's only the hand it keeps at the door. And one night, that hand knocks again. Not to take a man's soul, but to save his life. Her name was Nie Xiaoqian. She died at 18. For decades, night after night, she stood in the doorway of Lanruo Temple. Some men let her in the moment they saw her face. Others turned her away, but kept the gold she left behind. It made no difference. Neither kind lived till morning. Then came Nie Xiaoqian. Every inn in Jinhua was full that evening, so he took shelter in the abandoned temple outside the city walls. The monks were long gone. The weeds came up to his waist. A man named Nie Xiaoqian was staying in a room on the south side, a worn sword case always at his side. They traded a few words and turned in. Late that night, Ning heard a woman talking out in the courtyard. Through a crack in the window, he watched a hunched old woman raise her hand and point at his room. The girl beside her hesitated, then started toward him. A knock at the door. It was Xiaoqian. She said the wind was cold and asked to come in. Her voice was soft. Few men had ever turned her down, but Ning stayed in the doorway and blocked it. It's the middle of the night. A man and a woman shouldn't be alone like this. Please go. And just like that, her smile vanished. For the first time in decades, someone had stopped her at the threshold. An hour later, she was back. This time she didn't ask to come in. She slid a piece of gold from her sleeve and held it out. Ning took it, looked at it once, and threw it out the window into the weeds. He wouldn't keep money he couldn't explain. She said nothing, but before she left, she glanced back at the courtyard, at the old woman still standing in the dark. And the old woman's shadow had already crept all the way to Xiaoqian's own feet. The first man to send her back empty-handed was also the first to force the thing behind her to come in person. The day after Ning refused her, a scholar who'd only just arrived was found dead in his bed. Doors locked, windows shut, not a mark on him. Only his eyes, open and empty. That night, his servant died the same way. Everyone still alive fled before dawn. By then, only 3 remained in the vast temple: Ning, Nie Xiaoqian, and the ghost who had returned empty-handed. Past midnight, someone knocked at his door again. 3 knocks, a pause, 3 more. Ning gripped the short sword on his table before he opened it. Xiaoqian. Again. But this time, no makeup, no gold, no smile, just one warning. Tonight, I'm not here to take your soul. This time, that thing is coming for you. Then she told him the truth. She had died at 18, she said, and her bones lay under a poplar tree outside the temple. After she died, she fell into the hands of the thing that lived there. By day, it wore the shape of a hunched old woman. By night, its true form hid in the shadows. But it couldn't easily take the soul of a living man who was still alert, so it needed a hand to knock for it. Once a man lets her cross the threshold and get close, it reaches through her and pulls his soul loose. And the ones who only took the gold didn't get away either. She remembered every door she had knocked on. She remembered the light going out of every man's eyes right in front of her. She never said she was innocent. She only said she'd never once been allowed to stop. She pushed back her sleeve. A black mark ran across her wrist. A soul-binding talisman, she told him, had been laid across her bones, and as long as it stayed there, she couldn't leave Lanruo, and she couldn't defy that thing for long. Ning was the first man in decades to turn down both her and the gold. The thing already knew it had failed. Tonight, it would come for him in person. There was a man who could save him, she said. Nie Xiaoqian in the south room. If he lived through the night, she asked for one thing: dig up the bones beneath the poplar, break the talisman, and take her away from here. Then she turned to go. The moment she turned away from the door, the mark cinched tight around her wrist. She caught herself against the doorframe, held there for a beat, then walked into the dark without looking back. Ning hauled his bedding into Yan Xiaoqian's room. Yan refused to let him stay, so he dropped it on the floor and refused to leave, until Yan finally gave a nod toward the case by the window. "You can stay. Whatever you hear tonight, don't touch it, and don't open the door." After midnight, the wind died. At some point, the hunched old woman was simply there outside the window, perfectly still. But her shadow was sliding in through the lattice inch by inch. And when it was a single step from Ning, the thing inside the case moved first. A blade of white light tore free and cut the reaching shadow clean through. The old woman shrieked and stumbled back into the dark. Only then did Yan sit up. "It's hurt, but it's not dead." At dawn, Ning told him everything. Xiaoqian, the poplar tree, the talisman on her bones. Yan heard him out and pressed an old leather pouch into his hands. "Take her with you, and sooner or later, that thing will come knocking. When it does, hang this inside the doorframe. There's a cord at the opening. Wait until it's all the way through the door, then pull. A moment too soon, and it's gone." Ning shouldered his pack and walked out of the temple. The road home was right there. He was safe. He could have just left. At the gate, he stopped. He turned and looked back at the poplar tree. Going to Yan had meant trusting her warning. Turning back for that tree meant trusting her. He set down his pack, picked up a spade, and dug. There was the crow's nest, just as she'd said. He worked all morning before he broke open a rotted coffin. The bones inside had gone white with age, and a black wooden talisman lay across the chest, covered in dark red marks. The moment he reached for it, the old woman's voice came out of the wood. "Put it down. Leave." He tightened his grip and brought the spade down. Once. Twice. On the third blow, the talisman split, and the instant it broke, the mark on Xiaoqian's wrist faded away. The bond on her soul was broken, but no one saw the splinter, no bigger than a fingernail, slip into the wooden box he'd brought for her bones. He laid the bones inside, carried the box down to the river, and stepped onto the boat. As it pulled from the shore, Xiaoqian stood at the stern. The first time since her death she had left that poplar tree. No command pulling at her now. Nothing left to drag her back. Back home, Ning buried her bones beside his study and kept the empty box in the study. He brought her to meet his mother. The moment Ning's mother heard Xiaoqian was a ghost, she backed away, and Xiaoqian stopped at the threshold and came no closer. A long, long while passed before his mother finally stepped aside, and Xiaoqian lowered her head and stepped in. It was the first time she had ever entered a home without coming to take a life. The days that followed were quiet. She kept the house, looked after Ning's ailing wife, and read by lamplight at night. Ning's wife had been ill for years. In time, the illness took her. The trees in the yard went green, then gold, and little by little, Xiaoqian became part of the family. At first, she couldn't eat the food of the living. When the family sat down to a meal, she could only sit off to the side. Then, 6 months in, she suddenly picked up the bowl in front of her. The porridge had gone cold. She lowered her head and took a sip anyway. Ning's mother saw it, said nothing, and simply took the bowl and brought her back a warm one. A long time later, she and Ning were married. At last, she had a place she could stay, even after the sun came up. But that very night, something knocked softly from inside the empty box. She lifted the lid. At the bottom lay the splinter glowing faintly, and she understood. The talisman had broken, but the mark on that splinter had never faded. Through it, the creature had followed her all the way home. She had Ning take out the pouch at once and hang it inside the front door, the cord running down the frame into the room. After dark, the lamps in the yard went out one by one. The old woman stood in the middle of the courtyard, the same hunched body, the same black robes, but her shadow had now spread across the whole yard. She saw the pouch inside the door and stopped at the threshold. "Xiaoqian, come out." Xiaoqian didn't answer. Again and again it called her, and again it refused to step over that line. It could see the trap, but the pouch was useless unless the thing came all the way inside. So Xiaoqian gave it what it wanted to see. She lifted the bar, opened the door, and walked out into the courtyard alone. Ning moved to stop her. She said nothing. The old woman looked at her and smiled. It thought she'd finally given in. But she wasn't going back. With every step backward, she was drawing it out of the yard toward the door. It followed her, up the steps, to the doorway. Its first foot crossed the threshold, and her hand was already on the cord. She didn't pull. Only when its second foot crossed too did she yank the cord hard. White light burst out and coiled around it. The old woman recoiled and scrambled for the door, but the light only drew tighter, peeling its shadow up off the floor. Then it screamed. The hunched body snapped upright, and the old woman's withered skin cracked like dry paper, peeling away from the brow and shoulders. Out from under the robes came something blue-black, gaunt and far too tall, its dim yellow eyes opening all the way for the first time. This was what had been hiding under the old woman's skin all along, its true form. A Xiaoqian, an ancient night demon, old and hungry. It seized the doorframe, but the light had already locked around its body. The frame split under its grip, and still it was dragged off the floor until, together with the shadow on every wall, it dissolved into black smoke and was drawn into the pouch. Xiaoqian clamped it shut. Only when the last of the dark in the yard was gone did she cinch the cord tight. On the ground, all that was left was a pool of murky black water. By morning, the poplar tree north of Jinhua had withered overnight, and the crow's nest had dropped from its branches. And from that day on, no one ever heard a woman knock at Lanruo Temple again. The first time Xiaoqian stood at Ning's door, she came under orders to take his soul. A smile, a step closer, ready to hand the man inside over to death. The last time she knocked on that door, there was no smile and no gold. She had come to save a man who was meant to die at her hands. And in the end, she stopped knocking on other people's doors for death at all. She opened her own and lured the thing that had owned her for decades across her own threshold, into the snare she'd set for it. Live in danger long enough, and survival becomes a performance you can't stop. You learn when to obey, when to go quiet, and how to become whatever the threat needs to see. Maybe that role really did save you once, but survival habits don't know when the danger is over. You left that temple a long time ago. So what role are you still playing, just because it once kept you alive?